Good afternoon and welcome to a very special edition of The Rundown, where we bring you 2A news and conservative views. I am your host for today's program. My name is Mike Poworski, but I do not do this program by myself.
No, you do not. My name is Craig DeLuz, and I'm coming at you from the left coast, the west coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras, and I will be your co-pilot for today's flight.
Craig, let's let everybody know right up front here. It's Wednesday and why it's a very special day here at
It's a
The
very
Rundown.
special. It's a very special day because it is Hump Day.
Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Uh-oh. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day?
Yes, sir. It is Hump Day. This is the beginning of the week where we try to attempt to begin the weekend. This is our first attempt at the beginning to enjoy a nice, I guess at this point it would be a 5-day weekend.
Yeah, you try it. Try and roll into a 5-day weekend. Maybe take half a Monday morning off, make it a 5.5 day. We'll see how it goes.
we shall see how it goes. Sadly, we often fail, but it's the attempt that matters. It's the effort.
That's right. Just got to get back up on that bar stool and try again.
Fun stuff. Any special plans for this upcoming weekend?
Let's see. This weekend is nope, not a clue. Not a clue.
Not a clue.
Not a clue. No idea whatsoever.
Slightly too
Little
far
Arms
in
Room
advance,
Radio
or
Saturday. I'm sorry, little Arms Room Radio coming to you on Saturday. That's about it.
what else do you need?
I can provide you. I know. That's it. Yeah. Sunday you can spend in recovery after your Arms Room Radio. If you play it right, you do the shot game. You take a shot every time either Earl or I speaks. Then you're good.
There you go. So why don't we then let's get right into it, shall we?
We will. We shall. I've noticed that it looks like either my studio moved or my chair did. So I'm not. I'll wait till I'm off camera.
You seem a wee bit shorter or further away from the camera.
Smaller and smaller. Yeah, we'll have to take care of that on break. When we go to the commercial, we'll take care of it. Let's see here. First story. I knew what the stories were a moment ago, and then you switched the screen, and I can't see the cheat sheet. So I don't know if perhaps you could. Oh, let's talk about let's talk about what's going on in San Francisco. Greg, this story. I figured this one would tickle your conservative heart there in San Francisco. The school board. Now, remember the school board that I think it was 44 schools in their district they wanted to rename because they found that 44 of them were just clearly racist, and they could not abide by schools like Main Street Middle School. Oh, Main Street, that's racist. It should be every street, not Main Street. And so they had to change those names. Meanwhile, ignoring things like, Craig, what else has been going on that's been bothering people in schools the last 2 years or so? They
Locking poor kids out of school.
What's that?
Locking poor kids out of school.
Locking the poor kids. Well, probably the rich kids too, right? But I know what you meant.
They locked all the kids out of school. Well, the rich kids probably went to a private school.
All the kids, the unfortunate kids, the poor kids, locking poor kids out of school over the pandemic. Sorry, can't go to school. No, don't care about vaccines. Don't care about masks. You have to understand, we have to rename schools, and we can't concentrate on that if you're here. Just go home and do your pandemic at home. You'll be fine. Read a book. You'll be good. So they had a recall election, Craig, and the top three on the school board. Goodbye.
It warms my heart to see that there may still be some people there in San Francisco who actually care about people, about kids, who actually give a darn about kids' ability to be able to get a quality education. You know me, I'm a school board member, right? And, one of the things we do in our school district, I'm a Republican, hardcore Republican, elected in an area that's overwhelmingly Democrat. And, for a lot of my time on the board, we've had a majority Republican board. And that's because mostly what we do is we focus on what's best for the kids. We keep extraneous political issues and stuff like that out of the schools and focus on our core mission, which is providing a quality education for the kids and making sure that the school district is fiscally solvent. Now, mind you, San Francisco School District, a unified school district, is Financially, an utter mess. Academically, it's an utter mess. And they spent most of their time figuring out, well, how are we going to rename our schools? And then they took advantage of the opportunity to say, yeah, no, I know how we'll take care of our schools. We just won't let the kids come to school, right? That's what they decided to focus on. And as a result, the parents, the people there in the city of San Francisco, decided to tell them to go jump in a lake. And, well, in this case, go jump in the bay. And luckily they were able to do that. And it's so they were successful in removing them. And I'm hoping that if in a place like San Francisco, as left-wing, wacko, liberal as it is, I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call to school board members all across the country. Do your job. Focus on the kids. Put the kids first. And leave the extraneous political statements. If there's ever a body that is not supposed to be partisan political, but supposed to be about the kids, it's a school board. And hopefully this message will be sent all the way across the country. I don't know that the folks at CNN get it, but at least they're helping to spread the message.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, Craig, it is clearly a more liberal town than most. But I think one of the telling signs was that they were fed up with people messing with their children's education. Was that the funds raised to remove the chairperson and her buddies there from office was over $2 million, and the funds raised to keep them in office was like $80,000. So it was clearly that people were dumping in funds to see them gone, and that's what happened. So it's always good to see the little victories, especially where they mean so much, like at the school board level.
Well, that's it's a huge message. I think oftentimes just like the election of Eric Adams there in New York. Now, while there are a lot of things that we disagree with Eric Adams on, at least he was willing to say, hey, maybe we need to enforce, laws and put criminals in jail. I thought it sent a message to Democrats, and you can see it now happening in cities and in races all across the country. All of a sudden, Democrats are starting to say, yeah, we need to enforce the laws and we need to refund the police or fund the police, right?
Yep.
Those sorts of things send messages that I think need to be sent, and hopefully the politicians get it.
Hopefully so.
The electeds get it.
Yeah, there you go. So it's should be moving forward. It looks like the mayor there. This is the next question, right? London Breed, right? She gets to appoint the replacements in the interim. So hopefully she takes a note and doesn't appoint the same kind of ridiculousness that.
Otherwise, you know what we're going to be singing, right?
Yeah,
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down. Recall that woman. There you go.
Greg, why don't I'll let you take this next one, since this one's not too far from you also. I know you like this.
Yes.
Straightforward.
All right. So you guys know we've been making fun of the whole, mask mandate in California in the last couple of weeks. So the two biggest games that have been played in the NFL have been played in Southern California, in Los Angeles, in the center of vax mandate, mask mandate, tyrant. I mean, we're talking just total tyrant city there in the city of Los Angeles. And there have been a gang of stories basically talking about how during the Super Bowl, first during the NFC Championship game, and then during the Super Bowl, you had all of these people who were there who basically were flat out ignoring the mask mandate, right? Well, as it so turns out, there we go. As it so turns out, now everyone's coming down on Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, as well as a bunch of celebrities who basically ignore. I mean, keep in mind, we talked about this yesterday. They handed out 70,000 masks for the Super Bowl, right? And not one person, you could look at all of the images and everything, not one person that was there during the Super Bowl was wearing a mask. Now, this is the same Eric Garcetti. Now, there are tons of pictures of him, Mike, not wearing a mask during the Super Bowl, right? This is the same guy who said, yeah, I just took my mask off to take a picture. I held the mask in my hand and held my breath. So I'm thinking that we're probably looking at a world record, because he evidently held his breath during the entire Super Bowl.
Yeah, I bet he's popular at hot tub parties, right? The, this guy, listen, he's a liar. Okay, he's a liar. How have you not, folks of Los Angeles? How have you not stormed the city, the city council chambers there yet? Peaceably. How have you not gone through and called this guy what he is? How have you not had them overturn this ridiculous mask mandate when your leader stands up there and says, "I don't need to wear it. I can make the law, and then I'm going to stand here and lie to you about it." I mean, this is the guy caught cheating, and he's going, "It wasn't me, wasn't me." You know, you got Shaggy. That's what you got. You got Shaggy for a mayor over there. He's just, it wasn't him. It wasn't him.
Well, and once again, keep in mind this is in the same state where you have children are still being forced to wear masks, despite all the science. Matter of fact, I just got a letter from our county health person yesterday talking about how important it was that kids stay in masks until the state makes the decision to relieve the mask mandates, and cited some obscure statistic that clearly they combed through everything that they could find in order to find this one little statistic that supported the idea of wearing masks. Well, the percentage of outbreaks at schools where they wore masks versus didn't wearing masks was much lower, like 30% lower at schools that wore masks, right? Now, mind you, let's talk about exactly what that means. So in other words, what you're saying is that at this group of schools, where people didn't wear masks or people did wear masks, one child was one child was found to have COVID, not sick, right?
Right.
Not in a hospital. One child was found to have had COVID. In the school district next door where they did not wear masks, 2 children were found to have COVID, not sick, not in the hospital. Yeah. Therefore, it doubled the infection rate at that school district. Therefore, we need to force kids to wear masks.
There you go.
That is junk science. That is exactly what that is. That is stupidity. I mean, grand total, what is it? Like, I'll say it again. A little over 700 children under the age of 19 have passed away of COVID since the very beginning. And of those, about a dozen, more than a dozen, less than 2 dozen, did not have significant comorbidities.
Yeah. You're right. It's pitiful to watch. We know the science is crap. We know they're making up their own science as they go along. They're making up their own rules as they go along. Listen, I think they could overcome this. I think a peaceable rally on the city, one of those around the clock kind of rallies on City Hall. The only thing they have to worry about though is I've seen in the videos from the Super Bowl, LeBron was there and he wasn't wearing a mask, and LeBron's always right. So now you got to figure out. The mayor's not wearing one. He's wrong. LeBron's not wearing one. Well, he's got to be right because he's LeBron. So once they can overturn the LeBronness, I think they could probably get this overturned.
It is beyond. It is the logic, the lack of logic, the lack of following the insights. Yeah. It's like almost because I watched Trudeau give his little speechify thing yesterday as he declared himself dictator of Canada. And he's saying we have to follow the science, yet none of the decisions that he's making are consistent with the science. Why are you requiring a vaccine mandate? Number one, amongst a group of people who are 90% vaccinated, who, oh, by the way, sit in a truck, in a cab, by themselves.
Yeah.
Who are you protecting? You're not. Who are you protecting them from?
Yeah.
Who are you protecting from them?
That's right. Yeah. It's crap. We know that. And look, folks, I'm joking about LeBron. We obviously know LeBron's not a infectious disease expert. He's just an expert on law enforcement techniques. So we don't have to worry about that.
On that note,
the military vax plan. This is what is it called so far? Oh, a colossal failure. What we got going on so far. Now, Craig, quick review. What was it, about 6 weeks ago? The Supreme Court said, hey, Mr. President, no, you can't have your your vaccine mandate on employers that have more than 100. Can't do it. You don't have the ability to do so. It's not within your authority or your power. But then they stood fast on the federal employee thing because I believe the ruling was that the people who brought the complaint did not have standing. So they let that part go. Well, then last week, 2 weeks ago, Craig, we heard from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals that said you can't make federal employees do it either. So the president has no civilians, well, many few civilians, that he's allowed to have a mandatory vax mandate. What he can have is the military, the active duty military, reserve military. He is forcing them still to continue to get the vaccine mandates. Now, and along with those, any of those dependents or contract employees that live or work on the military bases, he has control over too. Now, remember, he doesn't have to let them on either. He could tell them to work from home or tell the civilians you have to live off post. Those active duty military on base, though, he's got control over them, and for the most part, their families that live on base. Now, here's the reason. This is one of the reasons it's going to crap. This is it's an all volunteer service, right? It's an all volunteer military. We've been that way for many years since I think the last draftee was out 10 years ago. Somebody who stayed on from Vietnam from a long time back, and they. Now it's affecting readiness, right? Because you have soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians that are not vaccinated, refuse to get vaccinated. The numbers are low, though. They've only thrown out, I think, across the couple of branches. The Army's not thrown anyone out, but the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps have. And it's I think the number's under 500 total for all three branches.
It's actually 650 members.
Okay, 650. Now,
Right.
It is not. And I'll tell you what they're doing. They did not throw them out for not taking a vaccination. You won't see that on the paperwork. What you'll see is they were thrown out for insubordination for refusing lawful orders. All right. So that's why? Why do they do it like that? So if the whole vaccination thing gets overthrown, it's not about vaccination. It's about, they failed to follow orders. So now, if those orders are determined to be unlawful later, then they have their case. But it's just kind of the idiosyncrasies of how the military works there. So the Navy's throwing people out. They're getting them out. Meanwhile, the Navy is 5,000 personnel short on their fleet, the ocean-borne fleet. 5,000 sailors short. It takes roughly $75,000 to $100,000 to train to train each individual and to do the recruiting of that individual. And that's your basic skills. That's the machinist mate or, a gunner's mate, those kind of stuff. You start getting into, advanced things, and it can take millions of dollars to train people. So the Navy's looking at putting people into a $200 million hole immediately just over this vax mandate thing. And again, the other branches are doing this. They're starting to drive that morale down to where nobody, listen, I can't go over here. There's no mask. I'm indoors. I'm outdoors. What am I doing? The rules are so disproportionate. They're not uniform in any way, any method across any part of the military, any part of the military base from one command to another, that they're literally walking around like we don't know what to do. I mean, the basics, the soldier, sailor, airmen's, coasties, and the Guardians, they don't know what to do. And that morale is going down, spiraling down at a time when Sleepy Joe is about to do his thing over in Europe. None of us know what's going on, right? Is he saber rattling? Is he not saber rattling? We sent the 82nd. Maybe we send the first AD over there. We'll find out. No idea, because even Joe doesn't know what he's doing. The good news is it looks like Putin might have pulled back some of his troops there in Crimea. Remember, and folks, don't get too confused on this. I don't want to get off on a different topic, but the Russians have been into Ukraine for 6-7 years now. That happened during the Obama administration when they invaded Crimea. So it's they're there already. So
by the way, it's already been debunked. Yeah. So what happened was the Russian media put out that, oh yeah, no, we're pulling back troops, and the left-wing media repeated, oh yeah, the Russians are pulling back troops. But yeah, no, there's nothing credible. There's no credit to that. They pulled back absolutely nothing.
Well, again, it's where did they pull it back to?
Right.
Did they pull it back to Russia? Because that's what they want. And remember this, they're talking about remember, it's like a peninsula there, Crimea, that sticks out into the sea. That's part of the Ukraine. And they don't want to give it up. They don't want to give it.
Right.
The Russians have had it. Remember, it used to all be Russia not too long ago, folks. So
Right.
it's not as easy as it seems over there. But what we shouldn't be doing is sticking our nose in internal business. Do we want to stop
there are
around
economic reasons. There are reasons why we're involved. I just think they're doing a piss poor job of actually explaining and letting the American people just see why they think we should be involved. But I didn't want to get off this topic of the military vax mandate without helping people to have a real understanding of military leadership and the importance of morale, or at least the consequences.
And under Trump, I'll tell you this. Under President Trump, it was 4 years of, wow, we're starting to turn things around. We had to get rid of some of the Obama generals and the leadership, but it really, really, really saw the morale turn around in the military.
Right.
And now again, you know what? Guess what? The morale was high. So guess what we got to do?
That's pretty much how it's working under most liberal administrations, sadly.
That's it. We'll have none of that morale here.
Exactly. Let's handle.
Yep.
Okay, Mikey. Let's get on to our next story.
Sorry about your luck there, Airman. All right, our next story. Tonight's top stories. Another magazine ban. Now, we pulled this article, and I don't know if Craig, if you'll show that article out of there. It's from Como News up out of the Pacific Northwest, our good friends up in the Seattle area. And, it says, hold on. Everyone read the title to you because you can tell who it's written by, right? Some have high hopes that state lawmakers will okay ban on gun high capacity magazines. Some. I guess that's being polite to say some. We know that this is a hot button issue now for the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is willing to take these types of issues. We're waiting to hear back on Maryland. We're waiting to hear back on New York State. These issues are going to roll out of the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has already indicated, right? We're going to be viewing, strictly constitutional, strictly conservative, as long as we have this 6-3 or 5-4 advantage, depending on what the case might be, where Roberts wants to land. Chief Justice Roberts wants to land. So this is like wishful thinking. It's one of those wag the dog kind of things, Craig, right? Where if we continue to report it, then people will start believing it, and it must be true. There was another article I saw earlier today out of Tennessee that talked about constitutional carry there and how constitutional carry was wrong. It was never what the Constitution or the founding fathers meant to have, based on a couple of decisions out of the Supreme Court or local courts back in the 1830s.
Right.
And I was like, but how can you can't just pick one or two cases from way back when. You have to go with the most recent and see what the case law is and what the precedents have been set.
Well, it's amazing to me how, when it comes to interpreting the Constitution, the words that are there aren't enough. It's like we no. That doesn't mean what you think it means. That whole, shall not be infringed does not mean what you think it means, right?
Oh, these are the people that get stuck on they're talking about the militia. They're talking about the militia. And then they turn their point to 1832 ruling and go, well, guess what? In 1832, they didn't have the need for the militia anymore. Remember when this was written, we decided not to have a standing army.
Right.
Okay. And so that couple of years that came along where this was written and authored in 1789, well, guess what happened after that? The War of 1812. And that's when the rest of the Congress went, you know what? We're not playing this game anymore. We rolled the dice for about 20 years. It didn't work out. We need a standing army,
Right.
And it's been that way ever since. It's weird.
But then, Mike, and then they completely and utterly ignore. They're like, well, some. And they like how they said some have high hopes, because most don't. Because during the 1 week in the state of California where we had the ability to actually purchase standard capacity magazines, the state of California went buck wild. We bought more standard capacity magazines. The rest of the country couldn't get a standard capacity magazine because we were buying them all here in the state of California. We did
the math on this. Remember, 11 tractor trailers full in 6 days. You got 11 tractor trailers full.
The other thing is that then once again they start the story off talking about the shooting that took place in Florida at the high school, right? And they talk as if, well, if we get rid of standard capacity magazines, and that's, by the way, they keep calling them high capacity, but they're really what we're talking about, standard capacity magazines. Almost, I won't say almost no, but most firearms come with magazines that have more than 10 rounds. They want to limit it to 10 rounds. But then they go and they say, well, if we want to stop these shootings, but a quick Google search, right? And I go to Wikipedia, and you can find here, Mike, look, there's a couple of dozen stories, a couple of dozen instances here with links and everything to shootings that took place. Now in California, standard capacity magazines have been banned since 2000, right? And look, all of these are instances of shootings that have involved 4 or more people, which is the definition of a quote-unquote mass shooting or a mass casualty event involving firearms in the state of California. And you see, I keep going down, all the way till this one, right? So in other words, we've had it now for 23 years. Standard capacity magazines have been banned in the state of California, and still we have dozens of mass casualty events involving firearms. So no, I'm sorry, folks, it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all.
And just another example of horrible reporting coming out of Como News. Craig, what's the school shooting they use as their example?
Oh, Stoneman Douglas.
Marjorie Stoneman Douglas
Yes.
high school shooting just over 4 years ago, back on Valentine's Day in Broward County, Florida,
Right.
Parkland, Florida. They use as the example for getting rid of high capacity magazines. That's
Right.
their whole thing, right? They want to get rid of high capacity magazines because of what happened in Parkland. I guess they never, ever picked up the police report to see what it says. He used 10-round magazines in that instead of the 30-round magazines.
Yep.
You know why he used 10 magazines? Because they were easier to conceal. He was able to put them in his pocket. Nobody was able to see them.
Exactly.
So their whole example of 30-round magazines completely out the window because their moron reporters can't look at the facts before they write.
Well, in many of these cases, first of all, everyone wants you to believe that the evil AR-15 style firearm is what's used, and the reality is, in most cases, once again, most of these mass casualty events, it's handguns that they wind up using. And by the way, they don't use large capacity or standard capacity magazines. They simply use multiple weapons.
That's right. The New York reload. That's what it's
right,
called.
that New York reload. But once again, facts don't matter when it comes to the liberal media.
Yep, exactly right. Exactly right.
Time to move on to our parting shot. Well, once again, I think as we all know, this is going to be kind of a crossover one. So we're going to talk about mask mandates since now they've been lifted in the state of California. And we're going to talk about, well, our favorite thing that we've been talking about since last week, and that is the free crack pipes that's coming our way. Now we have a way to combine the two stories, right? Because now we don't have to worry about mask mandates. We can take our masks off so that we can hit our free crack pipes.
Yep.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
But wait,
See,
there's more.
There's more. See, because all of you thought that Biden was the most generous president because he decided to give away free crack pipes to in order to create racial equity. But in order to create economic equity, there was an even greater president who gave an even greater gift. That was Ronald Reagan and the free cheese.
Government cheese, baby.
Government cheese. No, it's not government cheese. It's government cheese.
Yep. Government cheese, baby.
Oh, man. So I remember back in the day, I remember as a kid with the government cheese, I remember you would slice it, you put it on the bread and go to try and make grilled cheese. And I remember the bread would burn before the cheese would melt.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just looked at you like.
Oh, man. Let me tell you something. If you don't remember the government cheese, then you are clearly a youngster. You are not a Gen Xer if you don't remember the government cheese.
Remember what came with the government cheese?
No.
Government peanut butter.
Oh, yes. Oh, the one with the oil at the top where you had
Oh,
to.
boy, yeah. About 2 inches of oil on the top of your giant government. Get to mix the peanut butter.
Always got me because I always liked crunchy, and they never had crunchy government.
Nope, never had crunchy.
Never had
They just
crunchy
had
government.
oily. They just had oily. They didn't have crunchy.
Oh man! All right, Mikey. Time for the shout out to our sponsors.
Hey, let's say hello to our good friends at Gorilla Machining, Grid Defense, and of course, the fine folks of the California Republican Assembly.
Folks, if you have not been to their websites this week, go there. There's always good deals. There's always cool stuff there. Go there, check it out. If you like what you see, partake. Whether it's purchasing a fine firearm accessory from Grid Defense or Gorilla Machining, or it's becoming a part of the fight to make California red again over at the California Republican Assembly. Check them out. Make sure you tell them that the guys over at the Rundown sent you, and enjoy.
That's it. I'm going to leave you with my imitation of how government cheese looks at you once again.
I gotta get the eyebrow. What? How dare you try to make me melt? I will not be melting under the pressure.
I should not be melting. I am government cheese. I'm not really cheese, you understand? I'm just a cheese substitute.
All right, folks. Well, hey, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will see you tomorrow on Thirsty Thursday. I'll let you later.